Happy Tuesday. This is Mike Lynn, corporate metrologist here at IndySoft. And I thought I'd talk to you today about test point tabs. This is something we introduced back at the version 12.0 when we first released it. And these come in really handy in a lot of different scenarios. And I thought I'd kind of go through when you might want to use these and why. Now, as you can see, I've got this caliper right here, just a plain old digital caliper. And along the bottom, you'll see I have different test point tabs. Now, each of these tabs has different test points in them. So in this particular scenario where I'm basing something on size, I can create a generic template, equipment template, so that when I create a new gauge from a template using this button right here, the instrument gets created. It doesn't have a manufacturer model number, just maybe some generic description information, type, subtype, that kind of thing, and a series of the test point tabs across the bottom. So when that instrument comes in, you can give it the manufacturer model number and then decide, okay, what size instrument caliper is this? What set of test points is applicable to that particular device? Now, you can create the templates or the test point tabs by clicking this button right here, giving it a name, and then you can copy from another tab if you have one. If you don't, then it'll just create with a blank set of test points. But in this situation, the idea would be that you create this instrument using one template. So instead of having, multiple manufacturer models, in some case hundreds of them for calipers, you create one template that's sort of a generic that has all of your test point requirements built in. When the technician goes to run this calibration, it's going to ask them what tab do they want to use. So it'll come up and it'll say, well, if it's a 6-inch caliper, then I'm going to choose a 6-inch tab. At that point, it's also going to give them a choice of setting that as the default for that piece of equipment from then on. So as you'll notice, I have this asterisk right here on the 6-inch. So this would designate that this is the default template for this particular gauge ID. You can manually set it or clear it by right-clicking here and saying set to the default or remove the default. So if I click on that one, now you can see I can remove it, or I can come over here and change it and set that as the default. So this is one of the scenarios where you might want to use these as based on the size of the instrument you're dealing with. Another situation would be when you're dealing with multiple test point variations. So in this case, I've got a torque wrench, and so let's say under normal circumstances, I only take 1 point or one reading per test point value. So I can have this set up so when I go to calibrate it, I select 1 point if that's what my customer wants. But let's say I'm also got a situation where I have another customer or another situation where I need to take the average of 3 readings. So using our Ask Average, it'll pop up a window and allow me to enter 3 readings, and it will calculate the average and set that as the result. Maybe I need 5 for another case, so I can set this here. Another way of doing the same averaging is using multiple lines. So I've got multiple lines here. I can enter 5 values. Then on this last line, I calculate an average and then compare it to the tolerances. So this is a situation where, okay, if I have different ways of doing the same thing or different test point setups, I can do that using one template. Another situation, say you've got multiple customers have the same kind of device, but they all have different specifications or different test point requirements or whatever. So I've got this electronic torque driver here. Ferrari has one set of test points with tolerances. Ford has another. GM has a third. Saab. And then maybe I have a standard set for everybody else. So based on customer needs, you can set up these test points as tabs, and then when you go to calibrate, particularly using the scripting capabilities, you can limit that. Okay, if this is if my customer equals Ferrari, for instance, then it would only allow me to use this tab. Typically, that would be an advanced situation, but it is possible. Another one would be where you've got different procedures or methods for the same kind of device. So in this particular instance, we've got an analytical balance, and I've got an ASTM calibration. I've got set up for a Euromet, a Handbook 44, OIML, UCAS, and then a USP for, say, my pharmaceutical customers. This will allow me to have the different methods all under one template. Let's see. Another situation will be different quality system requirements. I've got some customers that may require 17025. I've got some that use a standard calibration, and maybe I've got a few customers that need the Z540.3 where I'm calculating PFA and things of that nature. So again, the whole idea is to try to reduce the number of templates that you have to deal with. The last situation that I could come up with off the top of my head was where you're dealing with different resolutions. Test indicators are a good example of that, where you may have similar ranges but different resolutions. Scales might be another situation like that, where you've got a 1,000 by 1 platform scale. In this case, I'm showing some different indicators using different resolutions and ranges. So again, the idea is to add some depth and variability to the way you structure your test points, and particularly structuring your templates. In a lot of cases, we have customers that will have hundreds and hundreds of just caliper templates. You can reduce that down to just a handful by using the tabs in an appropriate manner. A way that I typically use these, particularly when I'm dealing with the templates themselves, is I typically will set them up as a generic, so that there's no manufacturer model. It's just a generic caliper, for instance, or digital caliper. And typically what I'll do is I'll prefix those with some character or some symbol that will allow me to easily find them. So here I've got my list of all of these different templates that are built in here, but I want to find just my generic one. So in this case, I prefix them all with the @ symbol, so I can come in and I can find all of these real quick and just jump right to it. So I can create from here, I can edit from here, I can do a whole lot of different things here. You can use different methods for doing this. Maybe I'm using 3 asterisks for different things. So this is another way that you can quickly find particularly those generics. But hopefully this gives you some ideas on different ways you can use the test point tabs. If you notice over here in the template editor, there we go, test points. So I've got those tabs right here. So these will all translate right down when you create an instrument, and then you just choose during the calibration which one you want, and then maybe set it as a default. So hopefully this will get you some different ways of using it, and help reduce the number of templates that you're having to manage. Have a great Tuesday.